Welcome to the Continental, sir. Will you be
Hey,
needing a
I'm gonna
room?
do the walk-in. I was just making sure you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm just getting to the hotel now. I didn't make any reservations, so I think I just found this place. I'm gonna check into. There's a concierge right here. Let me call you back. I'm gonna see if I can get a room, and we'll meet back up online. Okay.
Welcome to the Continental, sir. Will you be needing a room?
Hi. Yeah. Wow. You are official sounding, sir. Yeah. I don't have a reservation. I just flew in town tonight. I've got some business I've got to get wrapped up, and I was just needing to see if I could have an extra room for the night. I really am only here for about 10 hours.
Of course, sir. No reservation required. We're pleased that you will be able to conduct your business so swiftly. We do remind you that hotel rules require that no business be conducted on continental grounds.
No business be conducted. Well, that's a weirdly specific rule, and I don't think I can agree to that. I mean, I need as quick as possible to be able to get in touch with Shanghai to conclude this business. It's been months we've been working on this.
I see, sir. Will you be needing me to arrange your travel to Shanghai for your business?
Travel to Shanghai? Do you not have Wi-Fi? I'm just talking about making a Zoom call. I have had a contract that we have been working on, and tonight should reach the conclusion as long as I can meet with the investors.
Yes, sir. As long as your contract is sanctioned by the high table, that should be no problem, but you will need to conduct this business off hotel grounds.
What is the high table? We were approved by the FTC and all important international agencies. What is a high table?
Yes, sir. I'm afraid that, according to the traditions of the Assassin's Creed, I mean the code of our order, all business must be approved by the high table.
I'm so sorry, Winston.
Hello, Mr. Wick. You'll be needing a room, sir, and perhaps some of the hotel's amenities.
Urgently. Thank you.
Sir. Yes, you have your coin, sir.
Certainly.
All right. Your usual room is available, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you. How is he just able to walk in, hand you a doubloon, and get a room so easily? He clearly needs a hospital.
Sir, we do not discuss business on continental grounds.
I don't know where I am, but I guarantee I will get a better night's rest at a La Quinta. Hey, Siri, find me hotels near me.
That's a pity, sir, because tonight on I Never Got Into That, we're getting into the wild and wacky world of John Wick.
Welcome back to the I Never Got Into That podcast, the podcast celebrating fandoms of all shapes and sizes, and tonight maybe more than just fandoms, pop culture of all intensities and blood-soakedness. As always, I'm half of the hosting duo, Colin, joined across the internet by my dear friend Philip. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. We are behind, and in our behindedness, you have managed to watch a trilogy of modern day action masterpieces, as far as I'm concerned. You're now well versed in Wick.
I am thoroughly enmeshed in the Wickiverse.
How did you manage, as an aficionado of action films, how have you managed to avoid John Wick before this episode?
It's the sort of thing that I would totally have gone and seen in theaters with some of my buddies, but I don't live near any of the buddies that I would have gone and seen an action movie with.
I'm guilty.
Like yourself. Yeah, I was going to say. Mm-hmm. And so it just wasn't a thing I saw in theaters. And then it was just kind of like, I had heard they were good, but it wasn't the sort of thing that I'm missing some sort of fundamental element of my humanity if I haven't seen this. So,
I get that. I don't.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it was just the opportunity to be living with our other friend, Joe, who I've known for years. And if there's an opportunity for us to watch a movie in which Keanu Reeves shoots guns, I'm going to take this opportunity because that has never been a disappointing experience for me cinematically.
I've watched a lot of the YouTube videos of his training for this film, even before I had seen this, and watching him go through those quick reload drills and moving through little CQB courses. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it almost feels like he just wanted to take that up as a hobby. And so he found a movie that would pay for the opportunity for him to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
I think that's where we should start, because I don't know that there will be another episode that we get to in which we have an opportunity to celebrate the internet's golden boy and another fan of fandoms, Keanu Reeves, who is famously just loves when people love things. So, let's talk about this. Born in 1964 in Beirut, Lebanon. His mother is an Essex-born Englishwoman. His father, a native Hawaiian with Chinese, English, Irish, and Portuguese descent. Keanu Charles Reeves. His parents split in 1966, and Keanu and his mother moved to Sydney, Australia. After that, New York City, where she remarried, and then moved to Toronto with director Paul Aaron, who would remain close to Keanu, even as his mother would wind up leaving him to carry on for 2 subsequent marriages. Keanu Reeves has, to this day, struggled with dyslexia, and in high school, this caused him great challenges as a student. And he tended to put all of his energies into sports, where he excelled as a goalkeeper in hockey. He decided to make a change and abandon his hopes of being on the Canadian Olympic hockey team in order to pursue. He decided to abandon his hopes of being on the Canadian Olympic hockey team in order to pursue acting. In 1985, he appeared on stage as Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet. Then straight to TV on NBC's Babes in Toyland. He worked through TV and stage before appearing in the critical darling Dangerous Liaisons, a period piece of sexual escapades and backstabbing debauchery, which unlocked Hollywood to him. And from there, he began his breakout with following Dangerous Liaisons. Obviously, you want to remain in the serious vein, and so he took on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Story of a couple of burnouts who wind up accidentally traveling through time. After this was Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure. These movies just exploded. They still are wildly enjoyable today. But he did make a return to the serious and the dramatic with River Phoenix in Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho, which was the first time that critics really began to take notice of Keanu, which is maybe the worst thing that could possibly have ever happened to him. Because Keanu has, as we will see as we continue through these few movies that we're going to highlight, he's always just kind of taken what was interesting or what seemed challenging, and that doesn't always work. And once you get on the radar, people that once celebrate you tend to want to find a reason to dog on you. Many of the people who enjoyed him and River in their thoughtful, passionate road trip in Private Idaho didn't understand why he would go on to do Point Break, which is a classic for our generation of the cops and robbers, the undercover. We've referenced Point Break in the Fast and Furious episode. And from there, the people that did like Point Break didn't understand why he would go on to Bram Stoker's Dracula and force, famously, one of the most challenging British accents ever put to film. He followed that by Much Ado About Nothing, which earned him his first nomination, albeit it was a Razzie. He had a rough spree of movies before a real next level breakout opportunity for him, starring in Speed, which was his arrival. Point Break, as much as we look back on it, is actually a drama. and maybe an action drama, but it's still a character piece far more than Speed, which is big blockbuster set piece action. I mean, we're jumping buses off of bridges here. Nice. He shaved his head. He put on 20 pounds of muscle to show that he would take being an action star as serious as he had taken being a dramatic performer. This led to Johnny Mnemonic, a reverse of his bad spree of movies into a good spree, which culminates in 1999 by being a participant in redefining action and science fiction forever. His role as Neo in The Matrix. Surely you've got some opinions on The Matrix. Let's stick to the original. What are you a fan?
I love the original Matrix. No, I think it's great. I don't hate the sequels. They're not great, and I think it gets real weird towards the end, and not in entirely good ways. But no, the first one is just brilliant sci-fi.
And I remember action. That was the year, not to somber things up too much, but this is my life timeline. That's the year that my father passed away, and so my uncle was spending a lot of time with me here in town. And we went to see a bunch of movies, and that was a seminal summer for me of watching films. And I remember watching The Matrix in theaters. The experience of seeing bullet time kick in on the roof when he falls back and dodges those bullets. I knew, not only did it look cool, I knew I'd never seen anything like it. And things would be different. And then to follow that up with him stopping the bullets in the hallway, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, because last time I knew him, he was in a phone booth traveling through time and bringing Abraham Lincoln everywhere. I wanted to watch everything he was in. From there, he has become the action star in a lot of ways. Things have really gone on well for Keanu since then. We've seen him in all kinds of things, weird documentaries. He has starred in video games. He has done all kinds of narration. He was in The Replacements, maybe my favorite sports movie that's not Remember the Titans.
Oh, that's a good movie.
It's a great movie, and it holds up. It's so funny. Also in the sports film Hardball, which is a guaranteed way to make any guy cry, is watch that team sing Big Papa. He was also a member of a rock band called Dogstar since the early 90s. Dogstar has since broken up. They toured occasionally for about 10 years, but things got a little challenging for his career. We had some really, really tough films. A Scanner Darkly in 2006 was great, but he was completely outshined in that Philip K. Dick adaptation by Robert Downey Jr. He was in Street Kings from David Ayer, which was fine, but his performance was not great. He started playing smaller and smaller roles and getting deeper into the world of producing until he decided to direct his own movie, the martial arts film The Man of Tai Chi, which has been celebrated by all sorts of martial arts experts and filmmakers, including John Woo, thought that it was wonderful. In 2014, though, after his career had seen the end of its commercial viability, he was cast by Chad Stahelski, apologies if I mispronounce, to the action thriller John Wick. And we go back a little bit here, and in the early 2000s, we have Derek Kolstad, who's trying to write screenplays, and he's related to the successful author Laurie Wick. Haha, nice. He just can't get anything to take off. He claims to have written 60 screenplays before having had one picked up, which is a low-budget action film called One in the Chamber, and another one called The Package. In either 2012 or 2013, he wrote a spec script called Scorn. And it was basically supposed to be like a 60s or 70s revenge movie, centered around a long retired hitman in his 60s, maybe 70s, supposed to be played by Paul Newman, forced back into his former life. it's got a lot of elements we will see carry over, like the elderly dog, long deceased wife, Sharon, Winston, the Continental, and gold coins. However, in this action movie, much like the 60s, 70s revenge flicks, there would be 11 kills compared to what would wind up happening in John. I think they kill 11 people in his house. At the start.
That seems right.
This original version was supposed to have Wick played as, quote, the worst man in existence. This would later, after being found by producer Basil Ivaniuk, who was developing films for Warner Brothers Pictures through Thunder Roads, wasn't finding things that he wanted on his own, and he read Kolstad's script and found an appreciation for how subversive it was, and really thought there was an opportunity to put an emotional through line in there. And instead of having the worst person in the world, have a somber, serious person as that emotional through line. Kolstad met with the agent. He discussed 5 various offers, and his agent told him to ignore all of them and only take the bid from Thunder Roads, which was the lowest bid, because they wanted to start rewriting and working immediately. They rewrote together, and as the script was originally written, it was supposed to be pitched to either Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, or Paul Newman, as previously stated. But then they decided that what they wanted wasn't someone who was physically older. They wanted someone who had a seasoned history in the world of film. They passed the script in April of 2013 to Creative Artists Agency for Keanu Reeves, with the note telling Keanu, clearly, you're not 75, but just understand. He read the script and said, I like it. That's cool. The representatives for all the other actors sent things back like, well, maybe we should explore his marriage. Maybe his mother-in-law lives with him and he has 4 kids and the entire family gets brutally murdered in front of him. And wow. The director said, you don't get it. Whereas Keanu just said, we need to see it as a puppy. So he got it. He understood what was being gone for from the very beginning. Kolstad and Reeves spent the weekends over 2 months performing about 6 rewrites so that Keanu could make Wick his own. Wick is obviously younger. Looking about 35 is Keanu's goal. And they wanted him to be, quote, badass instead of terrible. They also decided that the best way to portray that, much like Henry Cavill's Witcher, was to trim dialogue. There was a 5-page conversation between Wick and the priest, and the conclusion of the trimming of these 5 pages was for Wick to respond, uh-huh. And so they set about casting the rest of the film. They knew that they were going to film most of it in New York City, meaning that they could get city-based actors. They pushed for Ian McShane right from the start. Real easy sell for a lot of these people that live in New York, because that means they can just go to work from home for a lot of these. This is an older cast, and so not having to miss out on family time for months when you only have to shoot for a day out of every week is really, really great. John Wick, obviously named by Kolstad after his grandfather. Helen was named for his grandmother. Reeves brought his personal experience of loss and grief, he said, to the role. They cast Vigo, which was an interesting relationship in this first film, to be Willem Dafoe. Let's get, and then Ian McShane, the other big one that we talk about, also a New York-based actor. We've discussed our love for him previously in American Gods. We will discuss our love for him thoroughly again in the future, I'm sure, because neither of us can get enough. John Wick 1. You want to give the big hits? How does this movie take off, and what is it about?
Before I do, I have to share, because I don't know if I've ever told you, but I know we've never gotten to share it on the podcast. Do you know the story of Keanu Reeves when he was first getting into Hollywood, thinking he might have to change his name?
No, give it to me.
It was suggested to him by someone that he might want to think about changing his name to something more traditional. And so he spent some time trying to think of a good, solid, traditional American sounding name. And he came to his agent and said, "Hey, what if I acted under the name Chuck Spadina?"
You know what, Keanu? We're just going to keep it as it is.
That is what his agent said. Let's not change your name. Let's just go with your name.
I imagine the agent didn't even pretend like they were going to focus group that. He just wrote it and went, "Yeah, all right, Kay, we'll just keep it. That's fine. You could have just said no, okay?"
Anyway, so big. The good thing about this is it's really easy to summarize the plot of John Wick, or really any of the John Wick movies. Bad guy ticks off John Wick. John Wick kills bad guys.
Don't tick
in this
off
case. Yeah, in this case, bad guys ticked off Wick by stealing his car and murdering a puppy dog that his wife, his recently deceased wife, had given to him. Strange P.S. I love you sort of situation.
Yeah. Oh, good reference there. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I love that movie.
Wick then dramatically in slow motion breaks his way through the floor of his basement to where he has stashed a whole lot of guns and gold doubloons.
Yep.
Arms himself and murders some bad guys.
Who are all of a sudden breaking into his house again.
Yeah.
Why?
And then basically goes on a killing spree, making his way slowly towards the head of this particular. I don't know. Are they specifically Russians, or is it just sort of vaguely Eastern European bad guys?
I feel like this group is Russian. The first one. I feel like they're all specific.
Yes. Who he eventually gets to the top of and murders his son, who's the one who killed his dog. And that's really the movie. It's mostly just a series of set pieces for stunts.
Yeah.
Like I was reading, I read an article where, or I read an interview with the director, and he was apparently the Reeves's stuntman on The Matrix. Like that's where they knew each other, and then he was a stunt coordinator on some of the later Matrix films, and eventually did a lot of second unit directing for big stunt work. So he and Reeves go way back, and it really sounds like the creation process for especially the sequels, but for all of these films, is for Stahelski to sit down with Reeves and go, "Okay, what's a stunt you've always wanted to do?"
Yeah. It's like a more toned down Mission Impossible. Instead of what if we jumped off of a moving airplane, or what if you hung off the side of one taking off? It's more of what if I got into a gunfight on horseback?
Right. And so it's a lot of like he talks about the stunt process of this, which is just so much of the film. And Reeves, of course, does a lot of his own stunts because Reeves does a lot of stunts. Like he's as qualified to do them as any stuntman in a lot of cases. Like Reeves apparently, just for recreation, races drift bikes.
Yeah. He owns a motorcycle company that builds them.
Sounds like a really bad idea.
It's not if you want to stay alive. Like, then it's not great, but if that's not a concern for you, it's a whole lot of fun, I'd imagine.
So obviously on motorcycle stunts, Keanu Reeves is as competent as anybody, probably more than a lot of other people. Reeves doesn't do everything. Like he apparently I can't remember if it's the second or third one. He really wanted to do a stunt where he gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
And then after they set the stunt up, they decided, maybe somebody else gets hit by the car. Maybe we let Keanu be actually thrown into the car, but the actual getting hit by a moving car, maybe that's somebody else.
They wouldn't have to convince me too hard of that. This began with him on Point Break, because even though we give him a lot of credit as a California kind of vibe, remember he is Canadian from his main upbringing. And so he took 2 months to learn how to surf for Point Break. Huh. And so the physicality is really where he's found a lot of truth for his characters, like becoming trained in Kung Fu. And there's interesting commentaries that you can find from all the different directors and stunt people that have worked with him from The Matrix and onward about how, compared to a standard actor, he is able to hold more than 5 times the choreography in a shot from a normal fist fight. So that's why he's so satisfying to watch in these CQC segments, because he can go down the whole hallway in one take, and it allows for some really dramatic opportunities.
Yeah, you're not required all these quick cuts that you have to have in order to swap out whether the stuntman's there or that sort of thing. We can do longer cuts. And I mean, this film doesn't do a whole lot of like super long cuts, right. But it's not the, every 2 seconds we make a cut because we had to swap out depending on whose face we could see in the shot, that sort of thing. It was a lot like reading up on it. It's a lot like reading about Henry Cavill in The Witcher. Is that it's just Reeves really digs the authenticity of it, and also just loves and is capable of the physicality of it as a martial artist and a professional driver and all of these things that his film career has allowed him to become. And so while the plot of John Wick 1 is extraordinarily simple, I mean, it is a simpler plot than, say, Die Hard.
Yep. Even by comparison.
But the amount of action crammed into an hour and a half, I think the thing that I found immediately satisfying about watching John Wick 1 was it was very quick for me to realize, oh, this knows exactly what it is. There's no pretense here, because we've got a fight going in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like we cover what's happened in a couple of quick flashbacky montages. We know about his wife and the tragedy and the loss and all that stuff. We get a little bit with the dog to give us an idea of, the affection for the dog and to set us up to be really, really mad at Theon Greyjoy.
Bad. Maybe the most mad I've been at Theon Greyjoy, and he's gotten emotions out of me.
Yeah. And then it's just guns and revenge and guns and revenge and guns and revenge.
Yep. I also really like the silent entry into where Wick's mental is, because before the arrival of the dog, we see him hop back into the Mustang and push it not to full-blown suicidal points, but to absolute disregard. And then I think it's a genuinely wonderful moment of watching Keanu show us where John is just by shouting in the driver's seat after spinning the car out, not caring what happened to him or the car, and to just see how frustrating it is to be adrift. And it really connected me. On first viewing, it connected me to where Wick was. And so then when the puppy arrives, you're like, oh, we have a reason to wake up. He gets out of bed for this dog and just calls it dog because he's never done emotions before wife.
Right.
Oh, but I love that little bit of character building of just the quiet exposition of where he is. So yeah, we get some bad guys that want his car. And when he says it's not for sale, they decide they're going to steal it from him. And I really don't think he would have cared that much. I really don't. But after they beat him up for it, they kill his dog. And and that is when we discover that not only is John Wick a retired assassin, he is in fact referred to as the Baba Yaga. He is the monster of all hitmen. The action is, I think, pretty spectacular in this movie. I don't know what I expected, but it was more than I expected it to be. And boy, what interesting mythos and world building. As you heard in the cold open, if you're not familiar with the franchise, after John digs up the aforementioned doubloons, he travels to New York City proper to the Continental Hotel, which is basically a safe haven for assassins. Doesn't matter who you're here to kill. We don't care. Don't kill me, please. But most importantly, don't kill anyone on hotel grounds, because this world of
trouble with management,
this world of truly organized crime has rules. And this is what I loved, because this is a movie with its own set of rules for honor among thieves. And I am a sucker for this kind of like secret subworld. And it's not even an underworld, because it's barely under the standard day-to-day world, especially by 3 and on. It's like at surface level, we just don't kill anybody here.
right?
And your doubloons are worth however much they need to be worth when you hand them off to someone.
Yep.
But they're also your business card, and they're also a get out of jail free card. And they're also your driver's license. I don't know.
Yeah. I really liked the world in the first one. As we get into like the second and third one, I feel like the world building goes a little crazy. Like in the first one, what everything is just it's building a world with a feel. This is a style world. The armorer has this lengthy conversation with Reeves as if we're discussing wines for dinner.
The sommelier
too, but everyone's in 3-piece suits, and everything's classy and covered in mahogany and
leather-bound books.
There's a little bit of like a Kingsman feel going on to it that I really liked, that because it just fit with the very slick action. It's a very stylish movie with that doesn't really ask you, the viewer, to keep all this lore in your head. It's just, this is the Continental. This is where the assassins stay when they're on business in New York. You can't kill each other here.
Yep.
If you do kill each other here, you're in trouble with management, played excellently by Ian McShane. Oh. And if you're in trouble with management, then they murder you in broad daylight in Central Park.
You're dead. You're dead in the park. The end.
But we've got our own cleanup crew. There's sort of this hint that the cops are in on it because John's buddy, who's a cop, asks him if he's working again.
Working again, John? That's a weird career choice for him to leave the newsroom and to wind up heading off to be.
I know, right?
To be small town police.
Yeah. Don's made had a strange journey.
Things got weird.
Yep. Things got weird. But apparently, as it goes into 2 and 3 and the world starts to expand to become sort of Assassin's Creed level of over layer of this world, apparently that was sort of intended from the beginning, which is not what I expected, or at least this is how the director tells the story now. I really had the feel at the first one, like, oh, this is great. It knows exactly what it is. And then as we got into 2 and 3 and they start to add these additional layers, because now it's not just management, it's the high table.
Yeah.
And it's like this secret concordant of older, richer, powerful people?
Maybe assassins?
Families? I don't know.
Yeah, assassin
Whatever
families.
Exactly they are.
The Borgias. It's all the Borgias.
Yeah, right. And these are people with the kind of money that lets you throw a rave in a Roman ruin. In Italy. Okay,
I'm going to interject for the sake of debate here, because I agree with you while also disagreeing. I think you're right. I'm with you. It gets too big for me. but it's not too big in 2. For me, I loved the expansion of 2 because New York had been so good in 1. New York, I having never really experienced New York, I love it from the postcard cinematic universe that it has created for itself. And I love it as the cliche character of the film. So then I love growing up out of it, and going to Europe was wonderful for me. My struggle came in 3. I think by the time that we get into like the ancient Middle East having been tied into this, I was like, okay, maybe this is a little piece of Eden Assassin's Creed stretching.
Well, and when we even take John Wick's ring finger in the third one,
a bit on the nose there.
Like when we did that, I was like,
yeah,
are we just borrowing from whatever cool action movie? And reading the interview, the answer to that question, I'm pretty sure, is yes.
Yeah, because
apparently for like 2 and 3 and 4 were largely constructed. The stories were largely constructed by Mr. Helsky and Reeves, and a lot of it was, what's a famous shot in an action movie you've always wanted to do something like?
Right.
And so the car chase from The French Connection, or from Ronin,
which they call Carfu.
Yes, the shot in Lawrence of Arabia where Lawrence blows out the candle and it cuts you get a smash cut to that sunrise over the desert. Walking down the streets in a Kurosawa movie, the close in on the eyes in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like all of these just really famous bits of filmmaking, really famous bits of action movie. And so there's, I think, a sense to which through getting on into the series, it starts to just turn into homage.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad. Like the action is still very, very good. But I think it goes a little bit crazy on the world, but especially very much so in 3. 2 was fine in terms of the world. I mean, it didn't super bother me or anything. And yes, the little weird fight in the ruin in Rome was kind of cool.
I love it with the setup of all the guns. His preparation beforehand was masterful to me.
Oh yes, that was really cool. Yes, the running fight through the catacombs was very cool, and that does have a lot of really good long shots or long takes.
He was reloading the shot. He empties the shotgun, spins, reloads 1 shell to get a kill, quick loads 2 shells to get 2 more, and then fully reloads the shotgun all in 1 take. That was incredible upon first viewing and
that's
further.
Awesome.
It's wonderful.
Yes. No, in all of them, the choreography of these fights is just beautiful work.
Yeah.
It is every bit as cool as any sword fighting movie or martial arts movie that you can think of. Like this is the coolest gunfighting, most stylish gunfighting since Equilibrium.
Ooh, good pull. I love that one.
Right? I mean, yes, that's we're definitely playing with the gun fu of Equilibrium.
And we're not on wanted level. The bullets aren't curving.
Right.
This is, I pull the trigger and shoot straight wherever I'm pointing. I just point really well. He is a lethal shot. I think what's really interesting to me is that from the first movie on, he's not fighting anyone who's incompetent. They are They are challenges to which John Wick is consistently able to rise, and sometimes only just barely. I mean, from the end of 2 into the opening of 3, the dude is on his last breath. Like that fight with the giant in the library, which was really just them being like, I could do better with a book than Jason Bourne, so I'm going to.
Yes,
because John Wick has like a hollowed out classic Latin first edition that happens to have a picture of his wife who he left the life. Okay, cool. Here's more coins is what we needed. But they out Jason Bourned a book fight And he did it with someone 2 feet taller than him. It's so cool. It's so cool.
I don't know if I think it's a better book fight than the Jason Bourne book fight. That is a really, really good fight.
I think it's cooler because of the setting. It's not better. The hand-to-hand combat of that fight is, oh man. There's another one. I was in theaters for that. The Bourne.
Yeah.
Man,
those were so good. I think the thing that would set it apart for me as far as which one I like best is the Jason Bourne fights are visceral, like they're extremely visceral and real, but it's all very efficient. There's nothing really gratuitous about it.
Yeah.
And that's like the one place on which John Wick's choreography is amazing, but the one place on which I occasionally went, this doesn't quite fit the kind of person they've set John Wick up to be, or the kind of combatant they've set John Wick up to be. There's a lot of occasions where he shoots someone in the head and then shoots them in the head again.
Yeah, he double taps.
Not even in rapid succession.
Yeah,
but not even like that. It's like bang, your brain blows up. Bang. It's like you're very dead, but I shoot you again. Just in case.
Well, what you don't know is in John Wick 5, we are going to get them returning from the dead, and it's going to be Zombieland rules. You have to double tap.
John Wick versus zombies.
And John Wick kills the cinematic universe. I'm ready for this one.
Oh man, there's going to be so many John Wick references in the next Deadpool.
There have to be.
Yeah. So that's Keanu Reeves' entry into the Marvel the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is John Wick is the villain of the next of Deadpool, Deadpool and Wolverine,
and he's just killing him for 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's Keanu Reeves. It's Keanu Reeves Deadpool. Keanu Reeves is John Wick versus Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
And they're just every time that Deadpool has to regrow a body part that John Wick shot off. He's frustrated.
Yes, just try again.
It's a weird Groundhog Day movie. He keeps waking up alive.
They keep losing and revitalizing and then going back and trying again.
Don't steal this,
man,
Hollywood.
I would watch.
Credit where it's due.
I would watch that.
I would too.
Please steal this, Hollywood. I would watch the heck out of that movie. That's an amazing action comedy right there. Yeah, and I think that's the one place where the action just kind of overdid it for me. Is there's just a lot of like literal overkill where he's killing dead people, and that. Whether that, and I have no idea I don't know how to say what the realism is of this, because there's really not a real world equivalent of a person who does what John Wick does.
Oh man. I guess I'm not getting on Indeed tonight.
And so you see, you expect in a slick action movie like this to have a very efficient sort of way of fighting. This is like, though, what it is, just a comparison immediately comes back again. This is very like watching the way we get sword fights in The Witcher, though. There's a lot of places in The Witcher where he kills, and then the camera like pauses and strikes so that he can like rip the sword out the side of somebody's head or something crazy ridiculous like that. This is the equivalent of that. So I'm not knocking it as a film style, but it would be the one thing that would like set it below some other really slick action films like the Bourne series or something like that. But the choreography is amazing, and knowing how much of it that Keanu Reeves does himself absolutely adds to the experience of watching it, I think.
I love the idea of John Wick as a character, much like Jason Bourne, who is always ready for violence, very rarely looking for it. Like, it's always something that's probably going to get resorted to, but you're going to hit me first. You're going to take a shot at me. Even in the catacombs, I mean, man had a job to do. And he says this, he says as much to Common when he says, "You working, John?" Yeah.
Afraid so.
And it's, man, I had a job to do. You have a job to do. Like, it's genuinely not personal, but like, you're going to shoot at me now. And And the difference for me in the overkill is that Jason Bourne was always killing people. Like most of who Jason Bourne winds up killing, most, not all, in those especially visceral fights, though, are people that have had at least a couple minutes of character building. We saw them get the call from someone bigger. They have a character moment. And Wick is...
Yeah, well, and they're super soldiers like
him. Right. And Wick is killing a traditional henchman. This is someone whose sole existence, sole purpose is to fire bullets or to eat them shot at him. Like, that's it.
And be a target.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're all red coats. They're all red shirts.
The
fight with Common, I thought was wonderful. Going from the catacombs back to the Continental, crashing through the window and being reminded no further business could be conducted. And then they order each other a drink. They have it in peace. And they're like, sorry, but I got to kill you next time I see you. Like, it's what I got to do. I love it. That fight was so good. 2 did a great job of slowly inviting me to further suspend disbelief and enjoy the largeness of the movie. When this is the kind of movie that goes, hey, we have silencers. We don't have suppressors. This is a movie universe. Right. If I screw this onto the end of my pistol, it doesn't flash and it doesn't make a bang anymore.
It just clicks.
And that's
just click.
Okay,
click,
fine.
Click, click.
I know that this is not what really happens. This is not the world we live in. This is the John Wick gun universe. I'm okay with this. And so when they're shooting under their shoulders at each other through this subway, I love it so much. It's just a subway full of people that have no idea that attempted murder is happening all around them. I thought it was delightful.
I thought 2 built gradually really well right up to the moment that Ian McShane pauses Central Park.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a bit.
That's much. Jumping the shark for me. Like that, like up till now. And you're right, because it does start out still fairly grounded and then gradually builds up to be less and less and less grounded. But then we stop being grounded at all right there. And I guess you could argue this is like a smash cut transition into 3 where we just throw out everything even sort of within the rules of like reality. Yeah. Because by the, at the beginning of 2, we're told, okay, well, there's this secret cabal that run the Assassin's Order that we're all a part of. Okay, sure. Of course there
management needs management.
There's an Assassin's Hotel. Why wouldn't there be a board of directors? I buy that. That's totally fine. And the fight through the catacombs, again, this person is so wealthy they can hold their rave here in the ruins of ancient Rome. Of course they can. Someone that wealthy can do whatever they want. And we get back to New York and again the Continental, and then it starts to build a little fast because then we get like the weird homeless underground.
The Bowery.
The Bowery, which I assume is just an excuse to bring Lawrence Fishburne into the film.
We just need Morpheus in here.
Yeah, which is entirely an excuse, I assume, to set up the end of 3 where John Wick and the Bowery King are allies against the oppressive regime that has done them wrong, just so that we can do the Matrix again.
I am the Bowery. What?
Yes. Lawrence, I love Lawrence Fishburne. I love when Lawrence Fishburne chews scenery. Yeah. I love when Lawrence Fishburne goes big.
I'm fine with Lawrence Fishburne, but when he goes big, I adore him. Like I just want him huge all the time.
Like it's in the Matrix, he's very subdued, very level and very even and snarky and sly all through. And then he's breaking out of the handcuffs and like his eyes bulge out and he goes like an anime character.
Yes, dude. Yes, slinging spit and screaming. That's so good.
And this stands up with the sprinklers falling everywhere. It's like, yes. I love it. And so, yes, then we get basically 2. We've sort of lost the plot, but basically 2 is someone is now trying to get revenge on John Wick.
Oh, the turntables have turned.
Indeed. John Wick, someone tries to call in a favor against John Wick, or not against, but that is owed by John Wick. John Wick refuses, so the guy shoots a rocket through his house.
And then John goes, okay, I guess so.
I guess I'll do it now. You couldn't have said, or I'll shoot a rocket through your house.
Yeah, I just made you an espresso, dude. I made you a midnight espresso. Why are you doing this to my house? My new dog was in there.
Yeah. Why would you risk that? Why would you risk harming John Wick's dog?
Yeah.
Man, foolishness. So the marker requires John Wick to kill this guy's sister so that he can take a seat on the high table. And then he double crosses John Wick and attempts to kill him and puts out a hit on him that summons basically everyone in New York to try to kill John Wick. John Wick turns the tables on him and kills him, but does so in the Continental.
No business on Continental grounds.
And this triggers John Wick to become excommunicado.
John Wick, excommunicado, 10 minutes. I love it.
And yes, the old timey switchboards and the little vacuum tubes and the DOS computers.
And they're all being run by women from the Suicide Girls, except that one grandma who keeps making the calls. John Wick, excommunicado, 5 minutes.
This was a missed opportunity from our cold open. I should have told you there were no Zoom calls, but I would gladly send you a message send a message for you by carrier pigeon.
Yes. Boy, he is oddly passionate about pigeons. It's a little bit weird, man.
That is a little bit strange.
It's a bit weird. Not to kink shame, but it's a bit weird.
Right. And so the third movie is basically everyone versus John Wick. John Wick is chased by everyone. He calls in every favor he can get, particularly from Halle Berry and her amazing Belgian Malinois.
Incredible.
They are glorious dogs, and they are the best boys.
The best boy. The best
I'm not saying that John Wick's new, I think it's a Staffordshire Terrier is what it looks like to me, isn't a great dog. And I really wanted a bunch of occasional smash cuts to whatever Sharon and the dog were doing while he was dog sitting. I would have really loved a lot of smash cuts to that, but we didn't get them. Instead, we get Halle Berry and her murder dogs.
Halle Berry and her murder dogs is a metal album name for sure.
That fight scene is a metal album.
So good. And that fight just kept going. I was never bored.
It goes on and on.
I was like, oh, they're done.
Yes.
Nope, they're on the walls now. Nope. They are jumping down on you. It is raining villains.
There isn't a more terrifying and amazing dog than
it's so good.
Those things are astonishing. I watched a lot after watching this movie. I watched a lot of videos of Belgian Malinois being trained. And those things are just magic. They're magical.
When they shot the one through the window of the car, I caught my breath and I was like, you are not about to kill another dog. Okay, never mind. He lost his throat. It's okay. Oh, they are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Halle gets Keanu back. We're going to go back to New York because that's what you do. Go back to where.
After meeting the strange old man of the desert, who takes Keanu's finger and sends him back to kill Winston, his mentor, resulting in a siege of the Continental. Some awesome fights in the Continental in which Sharon joins the fighting. So good. Briefly.
So good.
Yeah.
When he comes back into the vault where Winston's just sipping brandy. How's it going?
With the dog on the couch.
Just chilling, listening to murder happen. And he comes back in and Sharon leaves his coat and rolls his sleeves. And it's just like, we need more.
Now you know it's real.
And he gets bigger guns. Like, okay. Because they are in bulletproof motorcycle suits now. Like, they upgraded the villains.
I assume those are the same motorcycle suits that the vampires in Blade wear to allow them to go.
100% have to be.
So I read an interesting story about that scene because Reeves and the director wanted to bring Charon into the action, and so the director was really kind of nervous about how Reddick would take it, because Reddick had gotten really into the character. Like, he had sat down with the character and he had pitched him who the character was back when they were first casting it, because they got just absurdly lucky in all of the casting. Like, they got their entire list of cast. So he basically said the pitch to Lance Reddick was, "We have no money, but will you work with us?" And he says, "This is why we need you. Your character, Charon, is the guardian, the gatekeeper, the man between the river Styx and the underworld." Lance took off his glasses, cleaned them, put them back on, and said, "I totally get it. Very smart idea. I think I'm going to do it like this. This guy should be a world traveler. He should have a kind of African accent, and he should be very stoic."
Done.
Like, just right there at the table, he pitched the character. So they brought the idea of him going into an action scene, which he thought was he was a little uncertain about, because Charon has always been this sort of, menacing but very gentle character. And apparently Reddick's response was, "In my mind, Charon has always been the worst of them. He's done so many terrible things, and he's been on this path to redemption by working his way out."
Honestly, that was my interpretation of him. That was how I thought, was in the same way that John had to do unspeakable things to get out of the life that Charon was atoning for his life. This world will still exist, whether I endorse it or participate in it or not. I'm not enabling. Right. I will simply stand at the gate and keep people safe as best I can. That was exactly my interpretation.
Well, that's because Lance Reddick is genius. Worth pausing here to say, of course, we know the tragedy that Lance Reddick passed away suddenly, quite recently. And as fans of this movie, and of fans of Destiny and The Wire and Fringe and good Lord, what else? Just his voice, fans of his voice.
Yeah, he has been in games for our entire time playing them.
Yeah, we are very, very sad. And when we get around to seeing 4, it's going to be, I think, bittersweet to get to see him on the screen one more time. Yeah, so obviously we are very sad about that, as are everyone involved in the film, as they've stated many times over. But yeah, so his entrance into the action was apparently a kind of a cool little character moment. But Reeves finally fights his way, defends the Continental until the mysterious Uber management representative of the high table, the adjudicator, there it is, yes, agrees to parlay. Who's been staying in a room in the Continental while the gun battle? It's all very weird. Anyway, so a meeting occurs on the roof in which Winston double crosses John Wick, shoots him several times, and until John Wick falls from the building, hits a lot of things. He doesn't miss anything.
He hits everything in between
and
him
is somehow not dead, because he's picked up by Detective Adrian Pimento and brought back to Morpheus's underground lair.
And we have not seen 4. 4 is just now happening in theaters. Yep. Life is happening for us. We do know that 4 is there. I do know that 4 will be the conclusion, allegedly, of the John Wick story. We see the universe continuing. We have not. Okay, so first let's discuss the influence, though, because the list of action movies that have come out since then that include from the minds behind John Wick. These are producers, stunt coordinator, whatever. We have movies like Atomic Blonde, Guns Akimbo, Extraction, Gunpowder Milkshake, Jolt, The Protege, and Nobody. this has revitalized the world of the action drama. I mean, we do see influence in Deadpool. I mean, these things, the Bullet Train, which if you haven't seen, Bullet Train is wonderful in its stylized action comedy. These things happen in a combination between Deadpool and John Wick occurring. It has revitalized a stale and stagnant genre of film. The universe will continue. We will apparently be getting a spin-off film following a female protagonist. We will also be getting 2 TV shows, one of which will be a period piece set in the 1800s, which will be around the origins of the order, which that feels like it's a bit late in history to be the origins of this order, but we'll see. Then very little is known except the title of the series, The Continental. Now, hear me out. Here's my pitch for this, because I think it could be super rad. We know it's going to take place in the hotel. So imagine season 1 is in the New York Continental. 10 episodes, 10 assassins and their stories. Season 2 is in the Paris Continental. 3 returning assassins for their independent episodes, kind of showing the crossover. Every season could potentially go to a different region of the world, to its continental, with crossovers and consequences and growing intrigue. I think that's a great idea to set a show in the continental.
Counterpitch.
This is going to be better.
In the aftermath of John Wick 4, with the New York Continental newly rebuilt and under its new manager, Michael Scott. And it's a workplace comedy. With the mockumentary style and everything.
Of the day that he finds out that he's being recovered or he's being replaced, you just see Winston stare fourth wall into the camera. Well, I personally don't understand.
Focuses on the lives of cleanup crews and the bartenders
or better, it's a reality show set. Like 9 people injured,
and the
only
support
one
staff
can survive to be the assassin. Welcome to the international next murderer. At the end of every episode, it's just a one to the back of the head of a contestant. Cut to the confessional. I really didn't think I was going to make it past this week's elimination challenge. We're off the rails here, Philip. What's your closing thoughts? How do you feel at maybe not the end of your time, because I imagine you've seen 3 of them. You'll probably watch 4, yeah?
Yeah, I'll watch the 4th one. Yeah. No, I will definitely watch the 4th one. I'm interested to see how they wrap it up, and I'm interested to see what they do with John Wick, because things that I've read about what they're thinking was ahead of the movie's release make me think they might do something kind of interesting here. So I've got some ideas, and I'm interested to see where they go. Honestly, I just enjoy Keanu Reeves as an actor in pretty much anything, and I enjoy him in action. I know he takes it really seriously, and it's always fun to watch someone who takes their craft really seriously do their job. I just think that's very enjoyable, regardless of what it is. So yeah, I'll definitely see 4. I think the world building goes overboard, but it only really in 3 was there any point where I felt like it was getting in the way of what the movie fundamentally was, which is a high octane action movie. Because in 2, they build it through those action sequences. There's still basically just nonstop action. And in 3, there's a lot of stopped action, where we aren't doing action, where we're doing a lot of talking about things. And I like talking movies, but this isn't that. So I'm hoping that 4 will return to that focus on the action. But as action movies, they're amazing. Like, just technically, the stunt work and the gunplay and the choreography is all just truly spectacular in every possible sense of that word. So no, I thought they were great. I'm very glad I watched them.
I had a wonderful time with this series that I have seen so far. I'm very excited to see it continue in 4. Ballerina will be the spinoff. There is listed a John Wick Chapter 5 as in pre-production. It's not that this movie is going to happen. There is apparently talk of continuation, and it may not be with John Wick. That may just be a continuation of the universe. We will see more of Keanu Reeves as he returns to voice more Johnny Silverhand in the DLC for Cyberpunk 2077. He is also in pre-production on a comic book adaptation of Berserker, as well as reprising his role of John Constantine in Constantine 2, which
yeah, that's right.
I'm very excited is on the horizon. As he's always done, he's going to take his time getting there because he's Keanu Reeves, and we wouldn't feel the way we do about him if he ever seemed like he was in a hurry. Fun little fact about about John Wick Chapter 4. Keanu Reeves in that movie is the highest paid actor per word in film. He says 380 words in the more than 2 hour runtime of John Wick Chapter 4.
That's amazing.
He made $39,473 per word.
That's outstanding.
I couldn't have thought of a better actor to have that accolade go to. This is an achievement of a very special kind in movies for me. We talked about how it revitalized a genre which you and I, as millennial men, grew up a big fan. I personally found great affection for The Expendables and for that franchise, for taking me back to the 80s style action movie that I grew up on. But I do think that John Wick has done something very special, which is to attack that 60s and 70s action and bring it into a modern and stylish version with compelling characters, an interesting, if not always compelling world that it builds around you, and an absolute relentless pursuit of its own kind of perfection. The choreography remains its own special kind of grounded from start to finish. And watching him shoot out the window of a car, to ride on the back of a horse, to doing aerial gun combat side by side with dogs, this is a absolute masterclass in the action genre. And we offer our most sincere thanks to the cast, the crew, the unsung heroes of the stunt department that make these movies so outstanding. Thank you all for your dedication and your commitment to finding this vision and to giving us something that stands on its own so well. Also, as Philip said, our final and resting thanks to the late, great Lance Reddick for having given us decades of content and entertainment, which we will continue to appreciate and study in our own ways. And he will have an impact left on the world of multimedia entertainment for generations to come. Philip, if anybody wanted to hear your opinions on other things on the internet, where would they find you and what would you be doing?
Opinion-wise, I'm mostly here. Otherwise, you can mostly find me playing RPGs either on the Eberron Renewed podcast or over on the Laughing Tree YouTube channel, where I'm the GM of a RPG live play called Kyber Shards that you're a player in.
This.
And I tweet from @LaughingTreeIn on Twitter very occasionally, mostly about Dungeons and Dragons.
You can find me on everything social media @SorryBTR. The O is a 0. And that's all socials, including Twitch, where I do very occasionally stream, mostly just to talk with people about things that I think are important, or more importantly, things that I don't. Thank you so much. Feel free to join our little baby Discord and tell us your thoughts and hang out with us as we get into all the different topics that are ahead. Philip, thanks for watching these movies and for getting into some gun fu with me, man.
It was a blast.
We look forward to seeing you guys join us for the next one. Thanks for getting into it with us.